Sangye Chedan Zoki Chonam La Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsun Dagi Jinzo Gipe Chonam Ki Rola Panjire Sangye Ndopara Sangye Chedan Zoki Chonam La Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsun Dagi Jinzo Gipe Chonam Ki Rola Panjire Sangye Ndopara Sangye Chedan Zoki Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyabra Lage Jinzo Gibe Chonam Rola Panjire Sangye Ropa Sho Simjen Thamche Dewa Tang Devi Kyutang Dembara Simjen Thamche Dunga Dang Dunga Gi Kyutang Tawar Simjen Thamche Dunga Mebe Dewa Tang Minda War Kyuchi Simjen Nirin Chadan Nidan Dawe Tang Nyamlan Nebara Kyuchi Simjen Tham Dewa Tang Devi Kyutang Dembara Kyuchi Simjen Thamche Dunga Dunga Gi Kyutang Tawar Simjen Thamche Dunga Mebe Dewa Tang Minda War Simjen Thamche Nirin Chadan Nidan Dawe Nyamlan Nebara Kyuchi Simjen Thamche Dewa Tang Devi Kyutang Dembara Simjen Thamche Dunga Dunga Gi Kyutang Tawar Simjen Thamche Dunga Mebe Dewa Tang Minda War Simjen Thamche Nirin Chadan Nidan Dawe Nyamlan Nebara Kyuchi Sachibi Chuje Mendo Chum Rero Nishin Nyele Yen Boendi Songye Jendo Mendembo Dokena Jin Lai Cheba Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kanyatayami.
Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, spread with incense, adorned with strewn flowers, Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun, and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha land, and by offering it to you, may all living beings enjoy this pure land. Thus, meeting the teaching of the peerless teacher is due to the spiritual mentor's kindness. I dedicate this virtue for all living beings to be cared for by excellent spiritual friends. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niyata Yami.
Kongi tuji nyezongwa tawa tongje pambechiri tombechini tonjebe kodamde la chaza lo. Ya, tayan. Tiring. Ta. Karswari. Kazante chedini ta subject. Jiba. Tarbatum tobar de bekang tongi gomgo parten baz de kazan de jigabra ra kazan ngama hafenala ta ti subject de kechimbu ta ti taning ngazo she subject zo kechimbu shibuji gu chagore kanje dame rapazam tongi rapazam gi phagi titen de go mar tongi thamun jeba to hoade gaja thamun ka ne tongi tamu to hoade ne chembor je sungores 로아 타르바짬 저디가라 타르바페 녀랑게 타르바진 등인지나 동이지 마도나 다 동이 참모 가자 참모는 까네 동이 마도나 타르바테 두기와 말해서 숭로와 뱀미스베 쳔버레스.
So to continue from last week's teaching, and the way this fourth subject in which it was stated that in the fourth chapter subject that even if you just merely desire to be free from suffering, not full enlightenment, even for that, you need to have a training and understanding and realization of emptiness. Just by merely just being removing or understanding the gross emptiness, just intellectually understanding the emptiness is not enough. You have to have the subtle understanding of emptiness. That is the eliminating the root of afflictions, which is the grasping on true existence. So for that, emptiness, understanding emptiness is very important. So I am also repeating this again, continuing from that same subject. So it is, I emphasize this, that having to understand how important understanding of the emptiness is.
결혼 솔로 양양도 삼당 거로와 다티기 캡틴 소테 카리어즈는 곰불루두 기타 문이 야츠침 버지왈레스 문리 중거다 곰불루두 간치 좀 된데 진래 페네 로지갈렘네 아니 곰불루두 페거레 곰불루두 그숨 카리어즈데가 다 타르바 동이 송이 되게 첨부 있는 곰불루두 그 숨어라 다서 에 기제메가다 숨고 말아 왔다 텐데 인정 곰불루두 그 레당 녀모 제베타르 탈파투지 기르바다 땡띵띵 거레스 레당 녀모 제베타르 레당 녀모 남돌레 대다 틀레 트바니 동바니 징가바 기르제 숭도 아시 동바니 지부 마도 타페 딘데베 에니베 타르반 드기야나 레당 녀모 제거레 레당 녀모 제발라 레당 녀모 계시기 다레 미게레테다 녀모 강 계시 머리바데 제고레 Maripade, Zela, Maripada, Musungalda, Sunging Tobelo de Mena, Zamotomba Nimatona, Maripazet Humare, Tindugala, Tony Chan Ramata, waiting in Bota, Mungalche, waiting in Bota, Tony Mata Janda, Rosa Mare, the touch of the two Sunore. She was in nature to us.
So in this context for this subject, there are 4 verses, and I would urge you to read these 4 verses on this and understand this, read it over and over repeatedly until you really fully grasp the meaning of that and how important it is about emptiness, and to how important the emptiness it is. Again, here, Nagarjuna was born 400 years after Buddha was born, and Nagarjuna's main text, Mula Karika, he had stated that cessation of karma and ignorance leads to liberations, and karma and ignorance arise from conceptually constructed thoughts, And these conceptually constructed thoughts come from a conceptual fabrication. And this fabrication ceases through realization of emptiness. So here, karma here means the negative karma here that accumulated. So these negative karma and our delusion or ignorance, these two led to have construct this conceptually constructed in your thought, and these thoughts eventually make you take action, doing things, and these conceptual thoughts are not seeing what reality is. So that has become a fabricated. It's not real, but it is a fabrication of your own mind. So this fabrication will seize the antidote to relinquish this fabrication that you constructed in your mind is realization of emptiness. Through realizing emptiness, you'll be able to see what is real. And then when you see what is real, and then it leads to cessation of this fabrication. And then when this fabrication leads to, means that you will stop taking action that leading to karma, negative karma, and also the ignorance will be removed from there. And this cessation finally will lead to the liberation.
Semgi dando ta nyomong le tarba de tubres ta nyomong de kandes ki garazim suji man wi ji ki namdo le ke bare zel bara le da nyomong namdo le se ade suji man ji mi namdo ta ngana tu be kadi sana be namdo chinji lo ba mangbo ji ngdo yuzing gi ni ma chi gize me ta be gize yang ta ba ji ma chi ne ne nga so to ba chinji lo te ki transha go be namdo mangbo ji ten lengyun de ki gore se la bare.
The liberation here means basically Nagarjuna has very clearly stated the liberation here is the cessation of karma, the karma and the ignorance. And this cessation of karma, and where does this ignorance arise from? Where does it come from? And how this cessation, karma and ignorance are related. So karma and karma and ignorance arises from this our thoughts, mental thoughts. If you just look at yourself, when you just state the whole range of thoughts arise in your mind without rhyme and reason. Some may have reason, but most of them just occurs, and we just follow these thoughts, and we just led by thoughts, these thoughts to take actions without seeing what it is. And thus, when you start following these thoughts and basically led to action by these thoughts, and that generates a karma. So this, both of these karma and these arising thoughts, and that is the main cause of the obscure the actual reality. So that's called ignorance here.
Oh, te mando someday using namdo kere ta juba denzin keres denzin de kayala demeto belo tomba ni mato yo mare status tachikdo.
So as these thoughts, where does this thought arise from? So we have this range of thoughts. These thoughts really arise. The cause of these thoughts are our grasping upon a true existence of things and phenomena. So we perceive things around us as real. We perceive things as a true existence. So that is the main cause of our thought arising. The thoughts, this fabricated thought, conceptually constructed thoughts, arises from this grasping upon the true existence of the phenomena. So that is very important. So
동반이 탐우 딘루카메 가야게다 다음에 탐우티그마도 다음에 라바도도 까투고 말다테 베케침부차데가래.
So antidote for this grasping upon the true existence of a phenomena is emptiness. So this is the very, very subtle, we may not even recognize that we have that, we are grasping upon the true existence of things. So that's why to this subtle ignorance or the subtleness of this that we even don't realize, this subtleness can only be relinquished through a realization emptiness. That's why emptiness in this context, emptiness is the subtle emptiness. It is not just merely seeing the mundane affliction that you have generally that we see, but here the true existence that we grasp upon is such a subtle that only with the realization with emptiness can break this thought process.
Tati sulusunga jetamadan de bolsungorwa. Thank you. 제다마던 도대 발라 까진 순거래 제다마던 도대비 두타 코나나 윈두 킬링도 왔어 윈두 킬링이지라 데메투 워마도 윈두 케말링이지라 데메 킬링이지라 데메투 고에요 마라 동이 두고에요 마라 미주 개침부 차되어레스.
So important is that Nagarjuna's making that statement, this assertion, and his main audience, he's asserting these to the Buddhist realist school, such as Vaibhashika and Swatantrika, who accept the true existence of the reality, external phenomena. So to them, he's addressing, he's asserting to them that if you don't accept the existence of true reality, means you don't need to teach this. The Nagarjuna and these masters are mainly, their teachings are to the audience for the realist schools, teaching them that these does not exist. They have to just kind of making them to see that, and the logics and reasons behind this teaching, and the aim, the goal, target audience are those Buddhist realist school.
Jiwaladang, Lumbulutang, Dawata take the Kanga, Junchume Uma Pacificala, Uma Tungu, Tawato, Jelgijing in the Chadiora.
So one, this system, this teaching that true existence, lack of true existence, inherent existence of things is the highest system of looking at the reality. And these are the masters, Shantideva, Nagarjuna, and also Chandrakirti. These are the masters, Buddhist masters who uphold these teaching.
그저 가장 좀 제라마던 너데베 뚜타도 생이도 또 딸에 따임베스.
So in the last week, I asked you to look into the Buddhist philosophy and epistemology of the realist school. So have you studied them? Kishla is asking you. Anyone?
제라마이나 라리 민데치 치든 든도 바스 남부도 담아와라 거와 라리 누구 말레스 그래 제라마이 tumthage rari je nambasingde rang rari sende jetama jelgi go mare chiden pe dendrup zembar tubaji jelgi go are jaza ta chiden dendrup jelgi je enza di tawateya ani be zame rakpa rak mado zame thamode legi go mare di nenga de te ore.
So the Vaibhashika, the school, and that is really school, so they do not accept the self of a person as inherent existence, unitary self that non-Buddhist schools believe in. However, they do accept the true existence of the external phenomena. So there is a difference there. So they have somehow being able to accept the selflessness of the person, but they have not accepted the selflessness of the external phenomena. So that is the difference there. So this is the more like a gross understanding of the selflessness of the nature or thing.
Ramede, the Jeramaltana, the bit Tawade, those charging or de, better Tawa Tamura Reomara, Kanzaranke to be Zegi, Thomas some killing or mother. Tea, the number two at the day, the Zenzing Lodi. Yetigala Tonito Tuya Yomara, Queen Galachaya Marwa. Into Bugudo Kunila.
So the next school, the Sautantra school system, in their system, and they do not, in a difference from the Vaibhashika is that Vaibhashika is that Sautantra schools, they do not accept this the self of the person. However, the way, the manner in which they accept upon is slightly different. Vaibhashikas, unlike the non-Buddhist schools, such as Hindu schools, where Atmans, so which is the partless, unitary, permanent existence, they don't accept that. However, they still accept a self that is apart from the five aggregates of the body, which the Vaibhashika accept. With South Tantra system, they do not accept that. They do not accept the self, which is apart from the five aggregate, this existence. They don't accept that, which is the difference. However, the South Tantra schools still accept the external phenomena as a true existence. So they're still, both of them in a nature, they still accept a certain level of true existence of the things. So that's the difference between, they still have this acceptance of the true existence of the inherent existence of the thing, external things.
Tupta Kona Dember to be killing you, tell a Dember Mebazano, Lochia Yomarwa.
Sin.
Kapodoa, Kazante, Shologa Jipan and Usun Chambo, Bekan, Law, much of some Gizime to see, Tony Light, Kurat, Tony Yomars, Suna, Digmars, the Sunson. What does that take to work? Savi to tell to
So these philosophical systems in which when they accept the true existence of the external phenomena, so for them to understand that a really emptiness is not easy to grasp upon, that not existent. And for example, the last week we talked about the Buddha's, one of the Buddha's main disciple, Mahakeshapa. He was unable to grasp upon the emptiness at the profound level because not being able to relinquish his grasping upon this true existence of the nature. So that's the, it is not easy to, perceive this or relinquish this, our habit of reifying self of external objects.
Zebala, Maribazegora, Maribazela, Tombani, Maribzigi, Maribazana, Zenzin Zegora, Zenzin Zebala, Zemban Zinzu, the Mepatobe, Lote, Tombani, Matona, Yoyo Marasidigala, Taku to the Lokunde, Chazanji, to the Zenzini, Zember to a killing Bekunde, Toyumuto.
So the root cause of the main suffering or being existence, cyclic existence, samsara, which is the not seeing or the ignorance. And what is not being seen is the reality of the nature. And so the system in which they still hold it, this grasping upon the true existence, means they're unable to see the reality as such. And because of that, understanding that, emphasis on this is to be able to see the things as what they are as such. So there is you can see that if you understand what its reality means, it become an antidote for what is not. So these are mutually two exclusive things. So that's why it's emphasis upon the emptiness. The emptiness is the light that shine upon this ignorance to be able to see it.
What do senators Salichin song as the mother, Karjin to be in some Jungurwa. To Sate Chedamo than the devil to Gorwa.
So with that, some clarity maybe have established with understanding that why these assertion upon understanding of the emptiness, how important it is. So these systems of teachings are mainly trying to explain to the realist school that their error in their cognitive error in seeing the nature or seeing the reality. So just a brief recap upon last week's teaching. So that's the brief recap from last week's.
다 대주디가라 다트링 카레레 예스디가라 니바 미니 비냥한 데비 람도 두바스 카 통니도 벨로데 미니 비냥데 람도 두바스 다다 티숭거레
And so this was secondly here. Now today's verse is starting from the full enlightenment or the nirvana. So the path to achieve the full enlightenment, just not merely free from suffering, but fully understanding of seeing the reality, which is the ultimate enlightenment or nirvana.
다티 니바데 세야데 니바데 가르잖아 자베스 다 삽제 니바 통니도베 셔랍 띵이 시빌람도 투베 람도 투바 미니비 냥데기 람도 투바자다 니바 티차디오레 미니비 냥데 람도 투바 세야데다 통니도베 셔랍티 시팔레 투베 람도 투바텔라 저파 렌데라 아니 고충기리 바다 아니 날메리파 날메리파를 지베 지바데티 드린조르다 로아 오다 두스조니 다티조 서브젝트조 페 삼노야보지 타나 삼제 코나니 고기 첨버다 페케 첨버리
पिछला दिन के सब्जेक्ट करे सब्जेक्ट करे
디 슈구 집게 게직게지 간라 지시다
쉽게 게지시가
오
Sorry, I'm just Kishla was telling me the subjects, and I'm confused. I'm asking him which subject he's referring to.
동이 또 베시랍딩이 시빌람도 두바시데 텔라 subject 티강가 티린 조르다 다 티린 요야 데 미니 빙양데 냥알레 데 벨람도 두바시에 티린 요야 데 테레
So talking, so our following from the last week teachings, and that emptiness is the antidote to be liberated from the samsara, and that subject part we have finished from today or the last week actually, and today we start part in the second part of that. It is the what was that? And the final enlightenment, ultimate enlightenment, nirvana, which is not just merely free from suffering. Free from suffering means here generally is when you are free from our emotional, psychological suffering, but you still may not be see the ultimate reality as they are. So when you're able to see the ultimate reality as they are, that is a fully enlightened, which is like a limitless awareness of the nature and things to be able to see. So today's subject is this subject that we are discussing.
미니 빙양데 시디가라 딩니 밤페 상기 고방데라 다 미니 빙양데스 로아 아니 뉴몽점 디바점 밤페 타르바데라 녀랑게 다 맞아 타르바라베야데 뉴몽점 밤페 다 녀랑게 타르바데라 타르바시데 또 자고레 다티간라 뉴몽데 뉴디티간라 시디파나
Just to add on this clarification about the liberation and nirvana here, two words that we use here. So in our context here, in this context, liberation means here just a liberation from the suffering of the samsara. But that is not ultimate nirvana yet. This you have free from suffering of our mundane suffering, psychological suffering. So, and these are the Buddhist realist schools. When they practice this, they are able to free themselves from our mundane psychological sufferings, emotional sufferings, which they have achieved. So that is when we say liberate here, liberation, in this context word, we're using it. But when we say ultimate nirvana means you're not only free from suffering of the mundane suffering, psychological, emotional suffering, but you're able to see the reality as such and clearly with a full, limitless awareness. And that is what it means by ultimate nirvana here, ultimate liberation, you can call it. But so here's two differences. So there's two different ignorance we refer to in a Buddhist context. One is the two obscuration, you can say shet and yotip. So one is emotional obscuration and one other is the cognitive obscuration. So when you have able to relinquish the emotional obscuration, so you are able to free yourself from all the emotional pain and suffering. But yet, unless you have free yourself from the cognitive obscuration, you will not be able to see the reality. So those who have the lower Buddhist school, they have practiced through their practice, they are able to relinquish the emotional obscuration, that's the liberation, they're able to liberate, but not being able to see the reality because they're still not free from the cognitive obscuration to be able to see the reality as such. So understanding these two obscuration obstacles or obscurations are important.
Pati Tongi tobe loda chikpa chagorte, zinche ki logi chabar chagorta. Zinche ngenjung ki sambe zinyon di gala, nyomu ki nyambo ndo tuguare. Shijin diba nyambo, tongi tobe lode, shijin diba nyambo ndo tuguamare. Ta chanchu ki semgi zina, nyomu ki nyambo lan tuguare, shijin dibi nyambo lan tuguare. Di oni tunyong gore tarung, sala rugure. Chigna kogwa tepe misiwe kechembore.
So here, important understanding is really important understanding is that when we say practice emptiness. So when emptiness is practiced from the point of just kind of pointed from without bodhicitta mind, so then it will help you to remove the emotional obscurations to seeing that. But without the aid of the bodhicitta, one will not be able to remove the cognitive obscuration. So final, really to ultimate nirvana or ultimate liberations, in that you need both emptiness along with the bodhicitta mind practice trained together. So will we lead to the removal of both emotional obscuration and the cognitive obscurations. But merely practicing emptiness level at without bodhicitta will only help to remove these emotional obscuration.
What's that? Tak di tanda subject niba dege min tongi to belode ta zo de tilagora te lo keparwan ki changju ki sem zimbe tongi to belode ta mine vinyang degi roege lamre se te tesung gorta.
So not chip to hikesh. I just missed the one interpretation before this translation here. So when we talk about emptiness here, means that even though emptiness practiced by the mind, but the way the mind is perceiving or conceiving what you're holding in the mind is important. The bodhicitta having mind. So this is important that have bodhicitta along with that. So that's give you more clarity.
Wata tere. Ta sholo ke chi mada yo marte. Tila samtang pe tangorta pe misiv ke chembore. Pe chi sonsen de jaya yo mare. Ngepa manye pardo samtang wa pe misiv ke chembore.
So for this, there's only one verse here, one stanza, but just reading it one stanza and living it will, you have to reflect upon it, read it, understand it, every word said here, and that this reflection after understanding is very important. If you just merely read it, understand intellectually, it will not make any changes. So reflection followed by introspection is very important.
Ta mombe dungal chendun du chatang sungda tat di chatang jita lateral bas tatela sita dan jita ni jaore tatela sita sipa krue tadang yuanyang de gitas wa ni jaore kor ne pon tup kirpa dini tongin diwin se jidigala katak chik ta tongin diwin se digala karasungore ta mungba mari bewangi ngarzo dungal da minda mambuji 다 진진 왕게 레군데라 몽베 왕게 맞죠 차네 그러면 타라 룽디야라 수수기 어때서 수수기 집아시고 배 로나 푸스토보 nga chi bu in ton da chin de ta nga chi ba susuki ola gora te gela oda ti yani korta la lung di ores jitha letol wa se de ranchi pe tundu tharba to tundu ngena ranchi pe tundu yani tharba tungende semjen jen yul ran tingi kya be phama sarab khoba thoma me be ne tingi kya phama de letang ranchi po pe tharba tungende sipe thala ne di ore yuanyang de thala lung di ore oda te si ore koran ne brin girbate seade karzana chanchu ki sem thugule yebe ani tongi to be sherab gule kende ki chansem papa te giti roa chanchu ki sem gizimbe tongi to be lo ta chansem papa te giti pe 니제 정원도 줄거나 sem진 땡진 똥 코안에나 타니까는 누구요 말했지 아니 전주기 생기진베 똥이도베 로티기 똥이도베 런디브레 숨거래.
So if you look at the this, if you're using this text, so page number 144 and is the stanza 52. So in this is the verse Rikishla is explaining today. To linger and abide within samsara, freed from every craving and from every fear, in order to achieve the good of those who ignorantly suffer, such is the fruit that emphasis will bear. So here, looking at these verses, the first line, to linger and abide in samsara, is referred to the ordinary being like us who are entrapped in samsara with our sufferings. So that is, we are entrapped in samsara. We are ordinary beings are entrapped in samsara and has to suffer all the due to the ignorance. And the second line, the freed from every craving and every fear, is referred to those beings, especially practicing Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha. Sarvakas are the one that hearer who and the Pratika Buddhas are their practice does not have bodhicitta. They practice for their own sake only, not for the benefit of sentient being, just for themselves. So when their practice means they're able to free themselves from the samsara at a level, but have not enlightened. So they're still just kind of in a limbo state where they are not in the samsara, but they're not fully enlightened. So these two are the different states. And then third line, if you look at, in order to achieve the good for those who ignorantly suffer, such as the fruit. Third is referring to the Bodhisattva. And so these are both arhats. Second line is arhat for the Sarvaka and Pratika Buddha arhat. Whereas the third line is the Bodhisattva arhat. Bodhisattva arhat are, although they are born, they remain in the samsara, but due to the power of their compassion through bodhicitta and practice of emptiness, even though they remain in samsara for the benefit of sentient beings, but they are not, they are free from the suffering of the samsara. So such is the power or the fruit of the emptiness, if practiced along with the bodhicitta. So last word, if you look at that, such is the fruit that emptiness will bear, means in this context, such is the fruit that emptiness practiced along with the bodhicitta. So emptiness is practiced along with the bodhicitta as the wisdom and methods, as a union of wisdom method together, which will give a power to be in the samsara, helping without being merged or without being without the suffering of the samsara. Are there any different translation? If you have, I have this this translation I'm using the Shambhala Classic book, and Kishila asking, is there any other different translation in English for this?
I have the Wallace translation.
Look, okay. Do you want to read that?
Sure. Remaining in the cycle of existence for the sake of those suffering due to delusion is achieved through freedom from attachment and fear. That is a fruit of emptiness. Maybe read it one more time.
Sorry. Yeah, can you read one line at a time? Sorry.
Well, it's one big long, it's only 2 lines here, 2 sentences. The first sentence is very long. Remaining in the cycle of existence for the sake of those suffering due to delusion is achieved through freedom from attachment and fear.
Yeah.
That is a fruit of emptiness.
So what they have done is that in Tibetan translation, they have written the last 2 stanza and the top, but meaning is the same. Yeah. So Kishla, the Alan Wallace translation the Tandadela Janus Latura, Dina Karadulana, and in Tagaransha, and that, and in Sigdi Tampuela, and Corvenal Negans in Chanju Sympathies, Corvenal the Neores, and Semjeg Denla, and Pet Corveg Tungema Govers, and the Karil Tenichunrana, and Tongwani Nibal Tenichunres, and Tishidrish.
동반이 쌈말에 동이 캐버와다 장주기 생기진배 동반이 때때래 로아 그때 미세베게 전부 차대었다.
So
대경이 공주지선 민중기 삼배지나 녀몽님보 로투고 장주기 생기지나 녀몽자만이베 시티빙님보로 로투고 다때게 전부 차대었.
So it's important to add in both the text that this emptiness is not just emptiness, mere emptiness. This emptiness practice along with the bodhicitta. So if someone practices emptiness just with the mere motivation to free from suffering without bodhicitta, without compassion for others, and that will help you to removing the or relinquish the emotional obscurations, but will not relinquish the cognitive obscuration. So in this context here, the Bodhisattva, Arhat, they practice emptiness with bodhicitta for the sake of the benefit of all sentient beings, and that will relinquish both the obscurations, especially the cognitive obscuration. So it's important to emphasize the emptiness here, even though it's just mentioned emptiness in that, understand that emptiness with compassion, bodhicitta.
간시다 가서 윤도 시도 가서 군소 생겼던 돈담 생겼라 생겼 나바니 작으로 군소 생겼다 돈담 생겼으리 돈담 생겼는 너무 동반이 들어와 군소 생겼다 다 심전 생기도 도서장 고방 돈등량에 로텔라 군소 생겼지 그러와 등이 자다마도 답쇼니 작은 답쇼도 차버려 So
when you practice for Buddhahood in there, so the 2 things, like birds have 2 wings of the birds, you need both of them. The first is the motivation to benefit the sentient being, that motivation, which is the bodhicitta, and then practice of emptiness. So how do we be able to? So you have to see yourself the reality. So that motivation generates such a power that you will be able to remove that obscuration. So, like 2 wings of the bird, you need both practice of bodhicitta and the emptiness.
That 되게 미세게 미네비냥데 람도 두비야데라 동이도 별로데 장주기 생기진베 동이도 별로데 답 미네비냥데 람임바 두고 알다테레.
So here we are establishing that that ultimate liberation or the nirvana or the full enlightenment, that one need both bodhicitta and emptiness, practice of both of them together as a union. So in this verse, the Shantideva is establishing that.
어떤 니는님도 그래서 니라때 삼로땅 니는님도 준리기 리우낭라 Sholoka Karnish Septin the Mare.
Kyata sumge sum de rakisha.
Sumge Jide.
Sumge shiro.
Palcha Sholoka Nishu Nish Septin the Imbaya, Nish Sangasetu Septinji and Jire.
Tipo puncture ledra.
Oh, Tipo Punger Dungal me, Kepichina, Migame, Seade. Dini Loper Topatang, the Besanda, Lulene, Sedigalata, Tanda di Sholoka Tampo Tigitonda, Marie Pasea Carsa, Tigitonda Tata, Dini Ungorwata, Mone, Mombe Dungal Chenton to Seade. Momba Maribon, Dungal Ungurosa, the Paside, Kaji, the Pasidugala, Dungal. Dungal dan Davorwa, Digbasede, Kan Dungal Kegi Gutela, Digbalagorwa. Dungal Keji Gutela, Digbalagore. Digpo Funjir Dungal Metang, Kebichina Migames, Dini Lopertobada, Dini Lopertoba Sede, Ta Danzi Maribadrawa, Toba Chinchilo, and to meeting in Amtokangat and the Legiore. Vibisam the Lula Nurse, the Tat, Dinigi, Vibisam Natape. Nensem Dante get it. Susulila Nugre is a Sumuda. That insan Sini Bete Sumuda, Nigel Chumbuena, and in Nazaina Guele Labo, and Nazachi Trakabo, Guena. See that thing? Shin Durab Gebena, Nambe, Tata could result the mother Chinton Shadwa. This some Danda, only Kayla Pentoyajita. So Lapeti Labrete, Tana did in Yamton, go on DJ, some Tangsayore.
So when you practice this, when you understand, reflect on this stanza that we have studied, and then you can use one verse in the chapter, diligence chapter, and page number 101 from this book. If you look at this, here's the how you can practice that. It needed some diligence there. It needs some effort there. Without effort, you cannot really comprehend and understanding the meaning of that. So here in this verse in page number 101 and of this book, and at verse 27, sin has been abandoned. And there is no pain. Through having wisdom, there is no more sorrow. For it is that mind and body both are injured by false view and sin. Now here's sin, or the non-virtuous action. So non-virtuous action is basically the same as suffering, because they are the cause of the suffering. Since they are cause of the suffering, they are like cause. So in this context, what Shantideva is establishing is that so if it's non-virtuous action is the cause of the suffering, if your non-virtuous action is abandoned, there will be no suffering, there will be no pain. And similarly, and what is the antidote for seeing that is the wisdom. So if you have that wisdom to see that this non-virtuous action can lead to suffering, and then that wisdom will help you to no more have sorrows, because the suffering causes sorrow, which is like a cause and effect. So once you have developed that wisdom, so there will be no more sorrow. And both of these now here, both mind and the third is the false view here. If you look at third sentence, for the mind and both by false view. False view, so where does this come from actually? It just, again, going back to this false view or cognitive error of grasping the things and self and phenomena as a true existence, and that is the root cause. And this false view in your mind, and that can really cause not only pain and suffering in body, but also your mind. So your mind and body, both suffering are caused by the negative actions, and negative actions and come from lack of wisdoms. The lack of wisdom is due to the grasping upon true existence.
Tontala chadang musum wangi chung depe nyomo tuksumde nyomo an chado jedang la soba tegiti sem maki bache mase 디인 디부르게 류라야 네 나자 망하다 류 마대와 차그리스 숭용도가라 딘상 아메리카 전 암지긴데 숭 따다 때가는 숭도 여러 뭐지 리트 그래서 다 디럽 기변은 다 제샤도
So I missed a couple of things. Kishla repeated it. So that was Kishla said that in last, so I missed that. So I'm going to, Kishla reminded me. So, this three, the poisons and that really the passions and aversions and also other poisons such as jealousy, and these all negative emotions can cause suffering, not only the body. This is something that established by the medical science in today, but in Buddhist teachers have said this thousands of years ago, really by Shantideva. So in this also, it is reaffirming that modern medical science is agreeing the Buddhist assertion that that negative emotion have effect on both mental and physical well-being of the individual.
디 자마데 코로나 버린 규바테 티니 통이 디빈자라 자나 penning 조연 사레 다 직바레 선음 기니 류라데스 케비인 셈데나 젠던 코로나이구나 니지 쩐다 지디교세 숭숭도 당원이디 다 공안조 류나네 미게 초데 기 류르네 용디가라 다 개회 초기다 잠바 니지 장주기 셈 디기데니 빼 공펠도 때나 아니 빼 장주기 셈 두길에 연댕이 다 니지길 빼 당가서 가는 니지 설잠지 많이 봐 니지 빼 영원도 줄은데긴지나 다 코로나를 간반에 발라 교회요 말했어 전된지와라 도알레그마도 교식균이 니지 원게 교실레기 말했어
So following that again on the same chapter on diligence, the next stanza, if you read, which says the marriage is the true cause of the body's ease, while happiness of mind is through understanding. What can sadden those who have compassion, who remain within samsara for the sake of beings? Now here, since non-virtuous actions cause suffering, so now virtuous actions, it accumulates here. Marriage here refers to the virtuous actions, action such as compassions, to develop compassion, to help others. It's not just being a pity to somebody, but a genuine compassion for others. So developing that, the Bodhisattvas, for example, have accumulated a merit of practicing generosities and these things for others. And with this as an antidote for the suffering, the Bodhisattvas, even though they're born in the samsaras and helping others, but they will never have any sorrow or any discouragement of the difficulties that they face in helping sentient beings. And that is that's such kind of motivation. It came from the practice of compassion, practice of bodhicitta. So that is asserting that how important it is for practicing the compassions along with the understanding of wisdom.
도시네 대제 삼당기나 오늘 소소 가서라 삼당디 치니 직 셈라 떠낭래야 개버린 것도.
So if you practice in this manner, practice in this manner and have this reflection, and it will help you to feel joy in your own mind.
간제 니리서 이제 시바점 길 자샤야 말다. 뇨아 마튼 버도 삼당과데 빼 미스베게 쳔버레.
Just merely understanding intellectually that, this is the case, that's the case, is not enough. You have to reflect upon it until you really feel it within you and practice become you.
자석이 냠는 제게 냠용데 냠대당 뇨아니 수서 청도 냠세도가 놓고 뇨아 레베앙 알테 소리 지도와 베나 다 겨울무지다 정주섬 두길에서 니주카가르지 나랑도 땅보 장인지는 참참들라 니지 삼당에들 참들리 미니 치마 중요하다 아니 리기 법후당에서 봐 개발 전지레기도 되디 니지 해게 냠디 차리고 알아 다티가는 자 마샤지 그뒤는 레기 마르테 티갈 자 마시니 야니양도 콘디텐 아니 그지 kelna malte ba ni pe niji rangshu gile yongde nywa thombare ta nywa dala chome nywa ta choma mai bi nywa ni yore chome nywa ta teni chome nywa ta da tro ma ja cho komni na teni chumi nywa ta ya tu su le yore ta ti pe kandiji na re ta ti pe misbe ke jembore.
So feeling and understanding and cognition and experience are two different things. So as you practice compassion, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama have an ability to practice compassion in a very genuine way. And there are moments, there are incidents that when you feel this natural spontaneous compassion for others, that tears come from your eyes just to feel the other's pain and suffering. And these are some kind of feeling, but have not completely transformed into the genuine compassion that is become you as an individual. So this feeling is the starting point. That is, feeling is the gateway to go into this deeper compassion, which you transform into, you become a compassionate person. So we have a moment to moment, and these moments need to be practiced and seized, and this moment to be really like understand, and then practice more to have this moment and more continuous, rather than that one moment of compassion you feel very strongly about and then it's gone. But if you're just going to see that moment, the compassions, and you feel that, and then you have to transform that into yourself as a being, and then that continual practice, eventually you are a compassionate person of all the time, not just moment. And when do practice that means, and that is the true compassion is coming, it's not dependent on external thing anymore. But our first practice is that it depend on external, there's something has to be in front of us, and then you see that, and that moment comes, whatever you, but once it become a transform into you, so you don't, it's not affected by external factors, but it is generated within you as a ingrained within you.
Tendi nikala shirage ke chembur do ngazo chindi zamji pe rogo ya ge tapshisam tulo tumuj ko ya ge tapshisam kangpa ningjibun je de tapshisam la ka kali gyagudo rowa dit utuna lo mana lo yare nyuna sangin te yun rogo na ha ko ya yo mare ngoye nisude tendi cha de yore 다 닌디기 떤다지라 사무타니 칼릭잖아 쳔디지마다 치마니 치마버도 디기두게 랑가 차도 닌디라 칼릭gem나 gebrin 초지다.
So in our daily lives, how much effort we put in just getting a food, shelter, and clothes, to have a good house, to have a good clothes, to have good food. So we have put so much effort in that, these things, and these things may last maximum, so let's say 100 years, or minimum, we don't know. It could be next day, you could die, it's all gone. So if we can put so much effort in these means, but these practices, compassions, is something that you carry on to the next life and life after that. It's continuous. So it's worth practicing these. If we can put so much effort on these, our daily routines, mundanes for ordinary comfort, it is worth to practice on compassions, which is more lasting, not only this life, but continue to carry on with your next life.
다 오늘 라지메베 타와 삼당에데 오니 망부지 통용 거때 라지메베 타와 삼당기 땅기 니제곰 니제는 뭐 콤펠탄에 장주기 셈 귤레케알 몰음 순진에 გამ네 장주기 셈 주마 순지기 지네 에니 많이 지진데네데 뉴바처럼 보아래 뱀미스베 펜도용 거래.
And so lack of true existence of the natures, reflecting upon them, and you practice your compassions, even if you just say one Om Mani Padme Hum recites, if you do that with the genuine compassion, and the benefit is so much, so that the genuine compassion arises from your genuine practice.
당어도 랑진진 왕 그전에 천디라 시우지 개침부지가 어래 치마 편제기 되던데라 상무코는 걸고 말때 또수 염센버지로와 미 남제도 따다지 배지 동마도 따디 차고 어다.
So in our life, we self-cherish ourselves for this life so much that we're so self-absorbed and self-centered that we are unable to see what would happen in the next. But that is ironic that we want comfort and everything, but we're so self-cherished that we don't see that how far it will last and how much it will last. We're unable to see.
열보 예지 자는로 장보 빼가 자는로라 장보를 야빠지마다 요 말에 대 개용 말에 야보이나 타만 로갈라갈라 예지 유는 로거마다 예지 킨 로야미도.
So in the moment of death, a beggar will have a one staff only, and kings have all kind of things. But when they die, they both have to live with nothing. The king cannot bring anything with him after death, and so beggar, even his possession or what, even that he cannot carry. Once you die, means at the moment of death, just there's nothing.
타나 랑기 루이데 베 제짐보 꼬에트모콘데 시부지 제경제샤다 또스 지간저는 멘사 까져 툭툭 제게다 타마티 유는 루유레 따때 자샤이나 디마카이게 겐지차를 미거는 베 나람도 말어 겐지 차디어레 따 네당외에는 텐디지레.
So we cherish our body right now. So when we're sick, when we take medication, we take care of so much really obsession with our body. And when we die, if our body is left around and it starts rotting and smelling, and people will just kind of avert it. That's the reality of what it is. So have this overly obsession of ourself, self-centered. So got to reflect on that.
당원에 야중 무주 토메 잠송도 루이긴 정강 남신 점베 퍼세다 오늘이다 루이세는 정강라고 지는 마다다 시부시부 랑탄데 게지 근리야 말에 뭐였니 쓰지 정강라 딱 말와 베세지텐티 윤세지다 경험에 판데 가서 판는 대버도 리데 따디어래 대 판데데 디조다 루이니운 루주로와 뭐저 강바데 정강데 니마 나와질라이나 나와지니 똥거와 야만에 빼셔대 거래 때마다 믿어.
So
다텐디지는 가서 쉬우지지 지금 어떻다 가르래.
So Bodhisattva Togni Sangpo has in his text mentioned that our body is like a guest house in which we live for the time, and then you can stay as long as you pay that payment you make a payment for the rent, as long as, and then once your rent's exhausted, you have to leave, you cannot. And so our accumulation of our karma from past life with which we're in this body, and that karma exhausts at some point means you have to leave in this body. Why we are so overly cherished and obsessed about that. We don't overly obsess and cherish for the place you rent for a guest house but we still do with our body. Just why do we do that?
근데 이니가 가서 단다 꼭꼭 비협해 갔다. 오늘 갈바장본 dindi지래. 장주기 샘당 동이도 따와라 빼 가서 툭툭지 인생 뒤주도 가서 툭툭지 삼다네. 직지나 샘당로 빠자 장부지 자투이나 깨만이 깨와주기대 빼 템부지 차고 왔다. 오늘 땡긴 두마투야게 딱 지는 데마서는 개고 와라. 따티 샘나 자에 과다 빼 미스게 침보래.
So it is in this form of body, and at the same time, it's a great opportunity to practice compassion. So while you have this opportunity, you have to practice a genuine compassion, and it's worth practicing it. And when you practice this with the right motivation, And it's like keeping account, and your next life's accounting, you are doing it from now on. It's just adding on your account for the next life. So it is while you have this opportunity, while you're alive, practicing a compassion in a true compassion, it is extremely important.
같이 솔로가 찌마도 요 말대 디기 내 전부 시비치 땡겨왔다.
Even though it is a one stanza here in this text about this, but it says so much important things here for our practice.
왔다 디레 다 가래. 딱 간정 가서 삼로야보 땅과대 뺀 미시빈 내 전부를 아니 내 인진이 시거 말에 땡겨갈라 직 가르쳐오래. 네, 지단은 중 야보지가나 그 지마진지 시고 말다. 인지산 말에 중은 지마진지 시고 말. 강세바데 마놀로지 랍 에투브다거라 로 칼레 잡거래. 인케런서 칼레 잡어라. 칼레 냐 강가 냠도 잡이나 건디부 만다지 통용거래.
So I cannot speak English, and even I cannot say that I am fully well versed in what I'm teaching. But whatever I understand from teaching, I put great effort in explaining that to you. And then from your side also, you have to put the effort in practicing this. And if we all practice together, and they will certainly have fruit.
세면탕이 주라지 땅 맞tum나 치 아주 딱 간전 간대 가지라 차서 고정제도 최순로 민중이 저르다 지된 최기 경고에서나 최런로 백하버리.
So in your practice, if you don't practice with the motivation, it just Kishla Karsa, Semdi Karsa, Semni.
셈 땅니 셈 닝니니 최지 맞tum나 와 장주기 셈다 동이도베 타바다 텐데지네 셈 닝니 굴ጆ지 갸베나 띠니 가리지 제바나 간동이 계절 가리지나 최순도 그래 셈 닝니 메나 직다 니딘 최결은 로 냥가 첨보를 최드 추 더루 최순도 길 리바스가 냥가 채요다.
So when you practice Dharma, the Dharma practice has to be from inside within you. And if it doesn't transform or it doesn't come from inside you, just practicing outside, doing prayers and saying mantra and doing all these things, it all depends on motivation. It may go as a Dharma or a virtuous action or non-virtuous action. It's hard to determine unless it comes from within you. So it could be 8 worldly practices, and some of the practice may turn into an 8 worldly practice, and it may not have an effect as a Dharma. So Dharma practice actually has to come within you with the right intention, right motivation. It has to come within you, and it has to transform you too from within.
제르무체 아니 동일하시고 공바제베 갑라 아니 지진 잠비안 제지중로와 제지중데 제르무체게 아니 네 타와데 탈랑강길 타와 인들 주르 숨도아 야르무지안인도 숨그르데 숨디가라 제르무 지진 잠비안게 결혼 타와다 탈랑강길 타와 마인들 숨 까낭도 제르무치 텐디 데갑라 아니 제르무치기 디 마이나다 간데시레 세디 숭디가라 아니 내가 단다 자시당 텐디기니 치 망보지 숭제 아니 고구민도 주주레 제르무치기 아니 결혼 장주기 세모금 아니 사장제 아니 때다냠도 아니 자와셔럽 타고레 자카낭도.
So Lama Tsongkhapa, when he was practicing emptiness, training emptiness very profoundly, he had a vision of Manjushri. So His Holiness has mentioned this several times in his teaching. So when he has that vision of Manjushri, and Lama Tsongkhapa asked Manjushri that, whether his practice of emptiness is according to the Swatantrika system or the Prasanga, highest Prasangika system. And Manjushri stated that yours is neither. And then Lama Tsongkhapa asked Manjushri, so what is my practice? What is that lacking? And he said that you're lacking a practice of bodhicitta. The compassion is lacking there. So you have to practice compassion first. And for that, and also practicing that compassion, and also he told Lama Tsongkhapa to read and study the Nagarjuna's text, Mula Madhya Magga Karika.
Tati Jirumachada Palcha Sungway or Martati Jirum Patiwa Tangada Jizin Jalenki and Kanga Mazolas Kanangorda in Wimwachana Tape Tony Chevala Chanchuki Semgi Sonamgi Gerden Guore Teni Jirumbachi Loha Pene any Machatsal Mandal Sal Tenibe Chanchuki Semgum Tenichen any Nimachi Pe Pagi Tawacharab Logi Logani Kalte Pumpo Dainas yet the T de Capdolani Tony Tugula Tony Tawachin Malabato in Sundwa.
So this dialogue between Manjushri and Lama Tsongkhapa is not so much about Tsongkhapa. This is for us to understand. This is a teaching for us to understand why practice of bodhicitta is important. So after having that vision or encounter with Manjushri, Lama Tsongkhapa practiced compassions and accumulated merits through practice of bodhicitta. And then he started studying as prescribed by Manjushri. He studied Nagarjuna's Mula Madhya Karika and the chapter 18, in which there is this line, verses. And when he read that chapter, at that moment, he has a true direct realization of emptiness at that moment.
Or that Dusre Tati Nanga Chambori Kizube, Nimajigal, Dusjagio Mardi, but Kwan Deni, and something with the Pemisvakachimbu Sirwa.
So don't leave it as today as just what you have heard today. So you need to again practice and reflect.
Oh, that Dusina, Kajet subjecting Biton that to the Robjire. That's not a subject Sumbegan Rogos.
So this is the subject second is over now. We're going into a subject third.
That Tena, Toa Toniki, Tony, Home Reaper Dambaz, the Gala, Chegores, the Katanga, Lamina, Lomal, and this chain, those cheese, the Labjagava. Tena, Toa Toniki, Tony, Home Reaper Dambaz, subject Sumpade. What the Tatar Tombani Chola say they. Jibia Gupchu Kuptinde. Oh, that did it. I'm not a subject Sumpadan.
Tether Tomba Nichola.
Oh, the that subject Honambola, then I'll to a Tony Home Reaper Dambasi, Dambasi Digala, Tangazo Lapsat originator, Chicho, Diche or Esia, Yegin Lamatazu, Lomatala, Diche says, Sunagazo Dambar Lagra. Pamagi Pula, Nelapja Zampoya, Diche and Diche Choco Marta, Diche Choco, Dambarwa.
No. So in this here is that now we're starting with third subject in which Shantideva is giving us instruction how to practice emptiness.
That's Sula Damgore, Sidukala, Umatangu, Ninde de Bala Damgore. And Cherama than the Depala, Cherambe, Tony Tamo the Jebam, Pangmatui, Karsangaja, Tamo the Jekani, Zamatumbani, Tomatuina, cannot pay Digumariti, Injimigumgures, and the Labjakin and Gorta.
So this advice or this instruction is mainly for the Buddhist realist school. Vaibhashika and Swatantrika. So here Shantideva is asserting that without a absolute and a direct training in emptiness, the ultimate liberation is not possible. So this assertion, this verse assertions mainly for the real school.
tab tena ze tena juji da tanda be mini vinyan de lamla juba de tat telin jugorwa en to tendila ni be kyo tungir yune ken ene korwale troba mini dungale trolegi tungir yo ina 인지 미지 동이도 곰구리 동이 막었나 동안에 좀 두고 말지 담거와.
So advice for those schools, really school, is that if you truly desire to be, to attain enlightenment, emptiness, practice of emptiness is essential. And
다들 다 중요한다 저라 모든 더 바래데. 년결아 티 ngaranzo dember denzin make inza o te ngala sam la sungudu samsamji sam kortumna yaboyore.
Even though this verse is advice for the real school, but if you put if you put that to yourself and thinking that I, who have still grasping about true existence of things and phenomena, if you are still have, we all have that, means it is for us too, we're still in that. And so to be able to look at it, this is when we say that is for the Buddhist realist school, don't think that it is for them, it is for us, because we are still grasping, we are grasping still the true existence. So it's for us.
가담베 계시도 배 니스무도 생인기 초 창도도 골와스 생인신데 그래 생인시야데 랑기 이루 랑레베 문이 가정님에게 르테 내긴데라 엔베 견상도 된투 거래서 거래 생인기 초 창도도 골와스 남가기 초 창도도 포바스 남가시인데 견데글라 포나 남가 차고래 견데가 마포나 남가 차고 말다
당봇 가래
생인기 초 창도도 골와스
어디 가서 그래
생인 세디가라 개위 이긴 들어와 영경이 초대 이루고 견댔던 두고래스
loss. Yeah. So in Kadamba teaching, there is a verse which states that the ideal teacher, master, is the one who can show to criticize their disciples anything that mistake they made directly, and then among the teaching, the most ideal or most beneficial teaching is where the way the mistakes are to be pointed right at the mistake where the mistake is happening. So pointing that out where the error is, that is a practice of Kadamba teachers. So in this verse, it is exactly for the real school here. This verse is.
델터 똥바니 졸라 순진반이 테마인스 따까르서거라 디니 테서 미자와 똥바니니 공버자 순용드가라 닌테데바 케랑기 라거 델터 똥바니 졸라 똥바니 로 마치비 규젠디 제네 아니 디 순진바 순진자다다 저바갸바단 땡베 현주제바데 세거래 디 제네 디그 말레스 그런 로그 견마다 그 룰마 추버르마도 자모토마니 견마레스 데니텔라 태섬메 바제네 베 동이 고무기나 그런라베 둥알데제알 핑기리 세데숭고아와.
So first I will translate that directly as stated in the book, and then I will go over that Geshe-la. So it's page number 44. If you look at this text again and this verse, and therefore it is incorrect to find fault with this view of emptiness, and so with every doubt abandoned, we should meditate on it. So in this verse is Shantideva is criticizing criticizing the the realist school again here. So here he's stating that it is a mistake for the realist school to criticize emptiness just because they don't comprehend the view of emptiness, just because they didn't understand. So if they criticize it, is it wrong and it's a mistake? Such a criticism does not hold under a deeper analytical investigations. Therefore, he is telling them that if they want to really liberate from the samsara and then attain a Buddhahood, it is critical and essential to train in the view of emptiness, because emptiness is only means to relinquish the grasping of the true existence. So for that, he is emphasizing to the realist school how important it is to practice emptiness, because they don't practice emptiness at the level where Prasangika school practice.
그래 다 그저 네가 나와서 자산지 그래. 아 그저 가사 양 트랜슬레이터 전담도 그지.
So are there any different translation texts for this verse?
Yeah,
Janice, maybe Alan Ross? Yeah.
I have the version. It's 53. Thus, no refutation is possible with regard to emptiness. So one should meditate on emptiness without hesitation.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 53 right now.
Yeah.
지금도
직보다 오지르셔. 이제 된다기스 디로치셔. 디나 엔데시셔. 동반이라 견제 진 얘기 말해서 지쳐고 말해서 정말 지금 견제 진 얘기면은 지는 가르쳐야 돼. 딜레 동반이라 콤버차스 양다버진. 딜레로치.
로 맞추비 규전이잖아. 동반이라 견제 제발에 아니 터좀 매버지 동반이 없나도 야 그래. 세스네. 닌제 루다도 수주자데.
So the emphasis here for them is the wording is that instead of criticizing, analyze it, and then once you have convinced, then practice it without hesitation and without doubt. And that will.
중고 망보지 뚝딱한가 마시나 또서 녀자 잡으지려와.
So it could be confusing because different Buddhist philosophical schools have a different view on this. So they all prescribe different explanation. And so it is important to understand each one of them yourself to be able to investigate yourself.
단디 랍자랑 레도 원이잖아. 랍자랑 레도.
So this is basically advice to the realist school.
What did that Tirindigalja and cannot do it and guess.
So we'll end here today. Any Q&A?
Can you Paja Hapachinal set up Chinal Paja subject these thoughts or pay up?
So we can finish this in next one session in the next session. Any questions?
Hi, Tashi. It's Doug. Sorry, I'm off camera. Okay. So going to the topic of how important bodhicitta is in overcoming the cognitive obscurations, my question is the development of compassion, does that development itself provide insight into overcoming the cognitive obscurations, or does compassion instead provide impetus and motivation for practices that would overcome the obscuration.
And the Kishla songs was the Janju Gisem Komna Ani, Shetip the new, Shetip the members, Shetip members, the Koran to what Dirisha, the Janju Gisem Combat some Shetip Meva Chagayore, Ki Janju Gisem the Shetip member Chayala, Pentog into Chagayores, the Roaching and Chagayore, Ki Korarang Janjusem Korarang Shiri Chagore, Janjusem Rochicors.
Man, Janjusem get Rochicor, Tongito Beltawate, Tai Shitty Ponging, Munyan chicken, the Tongito Beltawatre. Janju sing the Trochavaina, Tongito Bishirate, Shitty Nimbon Rotugore. Janju sing the Tro Machina, Rotugo Martere.
So, to answer this question, the Bodhisattva practice itself will not relinquish the cognitive obscuration, but bodhicitta aids or support the emptiness, wisdom of emptiness. It is actually the wisdom of emptiness that eliminates the cognitive obscuration. But without the aid of the bodhicitta, that will not happen. So bodhicitta is essential in supporting the wisdom of emptiness. So emptiness, wisdom of emptiness is the one that actually removes the cognitive obscuration.
Janjuki semgizimbe tongito bel tawata tap kebrjingizimbe tawada susungdo tap kebrjingizimbe janjuki semdere. Digizina tongi nijingingbo chensigde tape 시작에 자무 동방이 로데 뉴바치로 루고아 간지 투치로 루고아.
So with the bodhicitta practice is the means of qualitatively the practice of emptiness become stronger, more effective with the bodhicitta. So it is it's an aid, special help in the practice of emptiness. Is that answer, Doug?
It does. It does. Yes. Thank you.
고 가르잖아 동방일라 잡모스기도 잡바세 하장 또 가보 또 발라 날저바데 잡냐면 정인되게 수놈기 초 라프치 마소나 찌머지진도 또 두고 말해 동이 또 보이나 배고 가송 가자 딘진 찌머지진지 니제 두고 말다 자자 수놈 라포치사나 수놈 두기디 아니페 가서래 띠다 마서 라리나 노처로 루다 동이디 삐따다는 짱은로디가라고 배 디마페 타문이 이제 짱마서 두고 알더리.
So emptiness, we use adjective profound or deep in front of like deep wisdom of emptiness, profound wisdom. The reason it is that it is so deep, it's hard to grasp upon, to understand, comprehend that. So it needs a help, aid. So this accumulation of the merits, especially bodhicitta merit, is important. It's like when you sharpen a knife, do you want to cut something really like an obscuration, something means you need a sharp knife. But to sharp knife, you have to sharpen it. To sharpen it, the practice of bodhicitta, accumulation of these merits are like sharpening the knife. And the knife is sharp and is able to cut through the things and your ignorance.
단당하저데 추저 정은도 저기 배 직전제이나 데서 간가 배 춘춘이 말로 너시보지 근지고다. 전부 이나 고전지로 바라바지는 때서면은 루시에 땡고 와라. 땡다바노래.
The analogy we could use is that if you've seen a watchmaker, so watchmakers, when they look into watchmakers, they have really tiny tools, but some of them are very sharp to be able to pick, or just like that analogy.
맞아, 단단다배 방자당 다 님보다 밖에 녀몽 락바 메아서 조알라 님보 충충지 때나 니거다. 아니 방자들 차루들 님보다 체루 루고 가래. 딘디가라 동리를 렌진을 락바좀 개발라 다 렌진 바게 간삼 개발라 민중 삼베진한 디거래. 녀몬다 판토 거래. 렌진 판토 거래. 렌진 샤샤베 빠차데 사본데 tenoi timade bang thugo mare pena ngazo gondi na gopan zogina gopade pe chutan izi chutan de ji dino gopade dus ten shada teno gopa me chat lemsan tu chagro
고바 가르쳐?
gopan zosa mide gopan zosa
고바야.
gopa ngazo zongdo gopa zeyo gopade tapagi zoni lemsan ten shana ko tenyadel shirake amara chuji tos rabajdan shalchana digorwa gopade me chat le la botwa tinang timade kope yani kope timane yage yante dan rabat timaji meaze yamani nima khaji jane lungsang chen mado timade me cha tugumida sheji tibade timazondi jinde gopade nyumo timazole pejar gorda.
So if you look at our ignorance and our not seeing this obscuration, emotional obscuration is easier to eliminate. Emotional obscurations just have this determination, motivation to free from the samsara, and practicing it will help. It will be able to eliminate the emotional obscurations, and you can be free from emotional suffering. But the cognitive obscuration is more subtle. It is really deeper. It is more easy to even comprehend. So difficult to remove. So for that you need a more profound practice. Analogy that could be used is, for example, when you use garlic and in the pestle, when you ground a garlic in a mortar and pestle, and you can remove it, and you just kind of crush it, ground it, and then you remove the garlic. It's easy to remove. But the smell of the garlic is stale in there. It takes a really long time to remove it. Just like that, even with emotional obscurations removed, you may have removed the understanding, or you have removed the grasping upon the true existence. You may have been able to eliminate, but the seed, the constant habit of this reification of the self still exists there. So this constant habit of reification of the self and true existence is hard to remove. It stays there. So that is what is cognitive obscuration is. So to remove that, you need a help from other things, and then compassion, bodhicitta practice, and comes handy in this. So see the difference? So the renunciation, generally, it is that you see the suffering of the samsara, and you notice and feel the suffering of samsara, and there's a determination, this motivation to be free yourself from suffering. But bodhicitta is a different thing. Bodhicitta is not just for removing, but you're not seeing just yourself, but seeing the pain of suffering of others.
dungal tang dunlene jindin chin jugora ba hajang gi lotop chembu cha de orwa din digala chanju gi semgi mi pa semchen thanjele mi undugala te da ba de sonamra lab chembu sa tu gorwa.
The bodhicitta has a tremendous power to accumulate merits. The bodhicitta, you embrace the suffering and pains of others, and you reborn and remain in samsara for the benefit of others. So with that motivation, you generate a tremendous amount of merits. And so that's the power of the bodhicitta.
So niji rang jinjin domyade pe misebe ke chembore rang jinjin madona jinjin ke tablam yo mare
So you begin the practice of bodhicitta by first minimizing your self-cherishment or self-centered attitudes. So you have to decrease that, remove that. Eventually, you have to completely eliminate that self-centered, selfish perspective of yourself.
야지좀 지와라게 숨도 지된 대화 찡예빠 대군 현된 돌린 중세 지된나 대화 대진 께보 무슨 처바 용해야 돼 젠 대화 되발 텐 중레스 지된 룽알 찡예빠 대군 사된 돌린 중세 숨도 다 룽알 탐제 nga chakhat di masong nga chichi masong nga ni che masong ranchinsi wangita dungal de kanga ke bare la ran dungal ke gi yung ma ranchinsi le na zugudo te chipachi yang ngazo lojon to di me yo lelen thamje chilanda se de ranchinsi la kyonzu zu nang do kyonzu de lelen thamje be jawang nemba kal chunga te 견디 견주 주사데 란진진 찍어도 어떤 다지 버려도 이 견지면한테 이 로전던데 마다니 배 야지 좀 보지와라 그때니 견주 우두고에 요마로
직접 당보디대로 하기실라
지된 대화 진예봐 대군 젠된 돌리 중세 지된 동안 진예봐 대군 라된 돌리 중세.
So Shantideva has stated in that all the joy in this world can come from when you work for the benefit of others. And all the suffering and pain will come from when you work as a self-centered for your own sake without concern about the benefit of others. And this similar statement again is in the 7 training, Lojong Tadima 7-step mind training, in which one of the lines says that all the blames, all the things, all the bad natures, all the sufferings fall upon me. It's stated that, and this such is the practice of attitude.
이와라고 뺑인지 수수도 저다 망도션이 지지자스 뭐까지 망보션이 쳐야 말했어 지바랑 게 던졌던 통화진 게 던지면 닝이기니 개발도 해서 숨래 지바스도 수수키오 나랑도 아랑도 셔치기 있지니 다 가발렘도스 가발니렘도스 지바랑 게 던졌던 통화진 게 던지베 두비 왕보대 당부 가서도 지바 지견지래대 젠든지네 상기 고방 상기 자페도 여러 상기 고방 두라 어떻게 개발하고 그랬어 임제때 당고랬어.
So Shantideva has also reminded us that he said that there's no use in saying a lot of things, but if you look at this, that we have been self-centered for eons of lives, and where we are now, look at us, and then look at Buddha, who has dedicated his life for the benefit of others, and where he is now. So you compare that, where you are and where Buddha is. Buddha took it one step in practicing bodhicitta for the benefit of others, and we have been doing everything self-centeredly in where we are.
라데징기 동하고 양다제 버 마균나 상인이 또 미투지 코로나에 대화 메시지 타치도 숨어왔다. 라데징기 바 랑기 대화데 젤랑고 징기 동알레 랑기 떠는 다 동ling 냠는 제니 두스제니 데마제디 손음 라브주미지 사 마툼나 코레니 디기 요마르다 세디 숨어래.
So in this next line, Shantideva continued that if you cannot practice of benefit of others, exchanging your joy and happiness for others and embracing others' pain and suffering to yourself, without being able to do that, you will not be able to kill that your self-centered attitude, self-centered mind. And without being destroyed, and there is no way to attain liberation.
어떻게서 백개침모레 삼당과데 백개침모레 배제나 돈다데 배제네 레마주제 심길라 소소 렌투베지 고고아래.
So these lines are important. They should not be left in the text in the book or text in outside. It has to be embraced within yourself and become a part of you and become a part of your practice.
peche de lun leni ige kan le leni kocho ko yana ta kocho gora ta turap gepeni zung de peche ne lebare.
So if just being remain on the text, it benefit other sentient beings, then it would have benefit, since this text was written in 8th centuries, from 8th century to now would have benefited many people, but just remaining in the text will not do anything, but unless we put that into a practice.
Peche de koju chene peche tan teni di tonda de susi lentuna pe misiba yabore.
So study that these texts and then understand the meaning behind that, and then reflect upon that, and then practice it.
Oda kenonzi diwa menada digan la ja chanarwa.
So if you don't have a questions, we can end here today.
Ani kenonzo hafta jamada pachari yo mare teshi komgo mare tendi kala di nyomonda nyundita shedip tezo peche jindala tani suso tosu tatumna yabo res.
So next week we'll not have a session next week, but the next line, the next verse deals with these two obscurations, the emotional obscuration and cognitive obscuration. And just not only this text, if you study that from other texts and try to understand what these are.
그 인지인지 살아와요 말아가지고 돈다데 강 셰바데 윤두 셈길레 자르제 즉 수수 삼로랑 교활 랩투야지다 아니 미세톤은 덴바지 용 투야는 백와데 백게 첨버다.
We don't need to rush to finish the book or the text. And the important thing is that to understand and then embrace it and become a part of yourself. And then it has to result in transformation. And that is the more emphasis rather than finishing the text.
Yeah, tini.
So we will end here today. Thank you.
Chanjo sem chorim boche make pana kinguji dewa nyamba me paya kone kondo pewa so chanjo sem chorim boche make pana dewa nyamba me bayo kone kondo pewa so kari rawe kuru jinkam te pendang dewa malin chung chere zewan tenzin kyaso yi shabe site pato tengirji jamba bawe chi tenpa kondo zampo teyante teta kungi so balabchi wandita tamche ratung tusum shibi gyawa tamche gingwa kanda chadang rajin ge zawandi kunjan zangpo chichi ratung waragi.
Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefit flows in your person, Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso. Remain until samsara ends. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience and Samantabhadra too, so now I dedicate these merits to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas of the past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme, so now I too dedicate these sources of my merit for all beings to perfect good actions.